Peppers are so fun to grow. Once you've successfully navigated the germination stage and you've got your little seedlings, let's talk about how to best take care of them. Pepper seedlings like to be kept warm, so between 70 and 80 degrees Fahrenheit, which most homes are kept within that range. So if your peppers are growing in a place that is cooler than that, then keeping a heat mat around would be beneficial. Otherwise, you don't need to keep that on once your peppers have successfully germinated. So keeping them warm is important. You also need to start watering them from the bottom. When you notice the top of the soil starting to get light in color like this, that's an indication that your peppers are starting to get dried out. So compared to here where you've got a nice dark color, your peppers are fine there. But as it starts to get light like this, it's an indication that you need to give them some water. So you should have your peppers in a tray with a solid bottom, and you're just going to pour the water into the bottom of the tray like that, so that the peppers can drink the water up from the bottom. So they have a very long root that goes down into the bottom and will get bring that water up, and you'll start to see the top of your soil changing color over time. You don't want to have excess water sitting in the bottom of your tray, so leave them for about 15 or 20 minutes and see how much of the water has been drawn up into the plants, and then pour out the excess water. Peppers don't like to have wet roots and sitting in pools of water, so you want to make sure that you're dumping out that excess and they're not sitting in, an inch or two of water there, because your pepper plants are not going to be happy with that. As peppers start to grow, they will get their second set of leaves. So as you see on these ones, they just have their first leaves. These are the ones that initially develop, and they are eventually going to turn yellow and fall off. So as the second set of leaves start to grow, you'll see right here they have the more varied texture to them than do these first leaves. So these are called true leaves when these start to pop out. When that happens, usually about 2 to 3 weeks, these ones are nice and established here. I've got a few others that are just starting, so you can see some nice little tiny ones right there. So once they start to get a substantial size, like these here, you're going to want to give your pepper seedlings some nutrients. When you plant peppers for germination, you're planting them in seed starting mix. So that versus potting soil. So seed starting mix doesn't contain much in the way of nutrients to supply food for growing plants. So when peppers develop those second set of leaves, or the true leaves, that's an indication that they're going to start to need to be fed some nutrients in order to sustain their leaf and root growth. So when you go shopping for fertilizer, you're going to be looking on the front label, and you're going to be looking for the N, P, and K. So the N stands for nitrogen, the P is for phosphate, and the K is for potassium. And then there's going to be a number that is in front of that. So for this one here, it's a seaweed extract. It has 1% nitrogen, 2% phosphate, and 5% potassium. This one here is a fish emulsion, and it has 5% nitrogen, 2% phosphate, and 2% potassium. So when you're looking at those, it's really important for knowing what to feed plants at different stages of their development. So when we're looking at seedlings, they need a higher nitrogen number or percentage compared to the potassium and the phosphate, because the nitrogen is really important for developing leaf and root development. When they get further on in their development and they're getting ready for fruiting and flowering stages, then you're going to switch to the other type where it's higher percentage of phosphate and potassium and a lower number of nitrogen because they've already done all of their leaf and root development. So in this example, I'm going to use the fish emulsion because the percentage of nitrogen is higher than the percentages of potassium and phosphate. So this is going to be the one for me. You also don't want, you know, some fertilizers are like 15, 15, 15, some really high percentage values. You don't need anything that is that strong. These are just a nice water soluble fertilizer, so it's going to be a little bit milder. When you also add this for your seedlings, you're going to want to reduce its strength. So you can follow the instructions on the back of your container and then cut it in half or dilute it more with water by half as you're starting to do those initial first feedings. So you're going to want to do that for the first few weeks, and then you can move up to the full strength as it's recommended on the back of your fertilizer container. The downside of these fish fertilizers or even the seaweeds is that they tend to smell not so great. So also a warning, if you have particularly pets in your house, cats, they'll be quite attracted to it. So make sure that you have your seedlings in a place that your animals aren't able to get to, or they might dig up your plants or eat your little seedlings before you have a chance to get them into your garden. The light level on your grow table is also important to make sure that you're keeping it at an adequate height above your seedlings to ensure that they're not getting burnt and they are also not growing out super leggy. So I use fluorescent lights. So I want to keep them 3 to 5 inches above the seedlings. So if you are using LEDs, you're going to want to keep them between 15 and 18 inches above the height of the seedlings so that you're not burning them. If you're finding that they're getting extremely leggy, so that means this piece is growing exceptionally tall and it's starting to topple over, then you need to reduce the height of your lights so that they're not reaching for the light. These ones are kind of right on the edge of being okay here. If they got any further, then I would want to drop them a little lower. As your seedlings grow, it's also important to rotate your trays around. So if you look at these ones here, they're all leaning in towards the light, which is up here, and there's also a window here as well. So they all start to lean in. So you can rotate the tray here so that it draws the plant the other way, so then it'll strengthen their stems and they'll start to go back towards the light. So it's good to rotate them so they're not all bending over seeking the light. Like I said, I have a very bright window here as well, so that also helps to draw them over. You can also set up, if you're finding your plants are a little bit weak, you can set up a little fan to blow or ensure that there's a lot of air movement in the room that you have your plants in. Will help strengthen those stems as well and ensure that they've got good aeration, especially as they're growing so quickly. They're going to become crowded. So stay tuned for the next video where we're going to talk about potting up your pepper plants. If you missed the video on germinating pepper seeds, please see the link in the description below. Please like and subscribe. That really does help my channel grow and help teach more people how to grow peppers. Thanks for joining me. Take care. Bye.